my number one, Dad. No, just in case everyone needs to know.
Yeah.
Vision for the future. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Welcome everyone to the Reconnect Self podcast with Tracey Quayle. I am your host. I'm also Tracey's husband. My name is Scott. I'm a filmmaker. Tracey is a counsellor, and together we run our Reconnect Self retreats here in Perth in Western Australia. This podcast is all about helping you find what ultimately brings you joy. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about creating a vision for the future. Hi, babe.
Hi.
Do you want to just start off by what is it and why are we devoting an episode to this?
I believe that getting clear on what we want life to look like is really important. And the reason for that is because if we get really clear and intentional about the things that we want to work towards, we're much more likely to line up our behaviour and our actions to meet those goals that we've set for ourselves. But if we don't have that kind of in front of us, we kind of are just doing the same thing, living our day-to-day lives and not really being that purposeful and intentional to create the lives that might bring us more joy.
And we run this exercise on the retreat that we do. Mm-hmm. I've also done it at the beginning of each year with you. Mm-hmm. Why did we choose to include it in the retreat?
We actually include it in both retreats. So I run them. I do this in the relationship retreat as well. This is how much I am passionate about it. I make everyone do it. Same thing. I think it's, if you're not getting really clear on what you want, then you could be wasting your time, energy and your resources because you're not actually putting them into the areas that would ultimately be what you're wanting life to look like. And I also think that we're so programmed, from the way that we were brought up, we're taught, kind of what's expected from us. So, back in kind of our era, it was very much you go to school, you go to uni, you get your degree, you get your job, you buy a house, you get married, you have kids. That's all pretty prescribed, right? Like everyone
actually just described my life.
And mine.
Yeah.
So it's very, it's very much given to us what society expects, what our family expects, what culture expects. And so people then are not really checking in with themselves and going, well, hold on a minute, is this what I actually want? So I don't want people just coming from habits or expectations from others. I want them checking in with themselves and going, ultimately, what lights me up? What would be the things that would make me feel like life is really rich and really enjoyable? And where's my passions? Where's my interests?
Yeah. And now there's 8 parts to it. How should we do this? Do we want to go through?
Well, I can mention what they are. So there's 8 different areas, but you can add, extra things in. These are just kind of the 8 ones that we look at. So we look at mind, body and soul. And I will give examples in a moment about, each of these areas. But mind, body and soul, career, relationship, lifestyle, social life and friendships, family, house and money.
Well done.
I do this a lot. I do it a lot. Yeah, I do it a lot with people. Also, I use this a lot with clients when they're feeling really lost.
Yep.
So perhaps they've had a relationship breakdown, or maybe they're just feeling a bit stuck, like things aren't moving in the direction they want. And so I get them to get really clear about what would life look like if it was amazing,
yep.
and get them to really articulate that for themselves.
So do you think people do this either consciously and actually make a thing about it like you do and write it down, or even subconsciously where maybe they think about it but don't write it down? Is it common for people to do this kind of thing?
It can be. People probably do it more around New Year's resolutions.
Oh, yeah.
So they might do it around, okay, this year I want to focus on, but when people are doing it in that way, sometimes it's very narrow. There'll be one area they want to focus on. So maybe it's they want to lose weight, or they want to focus on their career this year or get that study happening, but it will be one area that they're putting their energy or their focus on. They're not looking at it kind of across the board. For other people, it could be at the beginning of a relationship they start talking about it. So they might start in the kind of dreamy vision way where they go, oh, one day I'd love to go to America, or one day I'd love to have 3 kids, or one day whatever the dream is.
Yep.
But it's in that kind of dreamy, planny kind of way. And that's actually really important in the beginning of a relationship, especially, that we are checking out with our partner, are the things that we're both wanting, matching and aligning. Because if, for example, one of us had said, actually, when I first met you, you were going to move to England.
Yes.
You want to tell that?
Yeah, well, shout out to my good friend Kirk. We were single, we were 29, and our pact was that if we made it to 30 and we were both still single, we would move to England to find a wife. And I met you, actually, I must have been 28 because I met you just before my 29th birthday.
Yeah.
And obviously stayed.
And didn't move to England.
Didn't move to England, fell in love, and Kirk did. He did, and he found a wife, and he's still living there now.
Yeah.
But yes, that's funny.
Yeah. So that's an example of, kind of talking through things in the beginning and sort of seeing what aligns and what matches and things, because had you been really determined to move to England regardless of meeting somebody, then we wouldn't have worked out, because that wouldn't have been on my radar for moving to England. So the other thing that I notice with clients is they could be putting all of their time, energy and resources into one area and really neglecting the other areas of their life. And they might not be so aware of it until we look at a vision. I remember doing this with one client, and he was such a hard worker, and his wife was being driven crazy by him because she was just never seeing him. So we started with his vision, and he wanted to start with career as the one that he was wanting to do. And I said to him, okay, what would you like that to look like? And he said, I want to be the biggest, whatever his company was, the biggest in Perth for that particular area. And I said, okay, that sounds nice. Why would you like that? And he was quite honest, and he said, some of it was ego, some of it was, so he felt good about being the best, and other parts of it were finances, of being able to support his family and his parents even. He was from another country, and he wanted to be able to provide for them also. So very noble, very lovely, in the dream of it all. But then when I said to him, okay, well, let's look at mind, body and soul. Like, how's that affecting that area? And he said, oh, terrible. I'm putting on weight because I'm not eating all day because I'm, so busy at work. So I'm not feeling really good in my own skin, kind of thing. I said, okay, what about relationship? How's that going? And he said, terrible. My wife's always telling me off because I'm never at home. And when I do come home, I'm falling asleep on the couch because I'm so exhausted.
So was he, because he lost weight by not eating? He was scoffing it when
he was scoffing it when he got home. Okay. Yeah, so his health wasn't very good because he was, just having far too many calories in the one go, and then going to bed with a full tummy and, all that sort of thing. So just running off nothing. Fumes, and then overloading his system later at night. So really unhealthy practices. So his relationship wasn't going so well because she was never seeing him and grumpy with him. Then we looked at, well, what's your social life like, your friendships? And he said, I never see them. Sometimes they stop in at the office, but I can't really stop and chat to him for very long. So, his friendships weren't really in the best shape at that point. We looked at, okay, well, family, what's that looking like? Well, I'm never seeing the kids because I'm never at home. Got no energy for them. So he just kept looking at all the different areas, and he realised that goal that he was having, and he's putting all his energy into it, he's depleting all the other 7 areas. Or maybe not money. Money was doing okay because he was earning the money, but everything else was being really depleted, and he wasn't happy, and his family wasn't happy. But if he didn't look at that in its entirety, he could have still been running that like that.
Yeah. I would imagine of all of them, the finances / money one is the one that people focus on the most. Yeah,
they definitely do. Yeah. And they also don't realise, though, that sometimes by trying to, gather the money or get the money or earn all the money, you're really taking away from the other areas where, at the end of the day, sometimes money isn't worth it. Like, sometimes one of the most precious commodities as we get older, we realise, is actually our time.
Yeah.
And I think we don't really realise that in our 20s, but
absolutely,
certainly in our 40s, we start to realise that, it's that time that's so precious.
When you were talking there, I came up with 2 ideas for future episodes. I think one is about ego, because I reckon ego just has such a massive impact on your life. And then the second, we could do money. And again, think about how I used to be. I did not have a healthy relationship with money. I was always living in fear and, what is it, scarcity?
Yeah. Scarcity mindset.
So I think that potentially future episodes. All right, well, should we jump in and we'll go through one by one?
Yep.
All right. Do you want to start with mind, body and soul?
Yeah. So just before I start, I'll just mention that, first of all, there's no right or wrong in terms of how we're doing this. These are just examples of what you can use. And timeframes can also change. It could be that for one area you might have, a smaller time frame of when you want to achieve that, and other things could be longer term. As long as you're being clear for yourself about what that looks like, then that's fine. It doesn't have to be all the same timings that you're trying to shoot for.
Oh, we should probably, how often would you recommend doing? Like, is it a once a year thing, or is it?
I think definitely glance over it once a year. It might not be that you need to, massively change everything, but it might just be a tweak here and there and keeping on track with the other things. But you definitely do want to revise it. If we're doing this with a partner, so when I'm doing this on the relationship retreat, or if I'm doing it with couples in the office, I always start the same, where everyone does the vision individually. The reason for that is I want people to get super clear about the things that would make them really excited and light them up. If we're immediately thinking about our partner, we're compromising twice, because we're kind of going, like for example, our children. You wanted 2 kids, I wanted 3 kids. If I had been, negotiating that in the very beginning and saying, he only wants 2, so I'll just put 2 down, we would just have 2 babies right now.
Well, the funny thing about that is before we had kids, I would have said, 3, no problem. Then we had 2 under 2. And then my mind quickly changed. I said, I am done. And that's why we have a 4-year gap until the next one came along, is because I just wasn't mentally ready to have
I don't think I was mentally ready either. That middle one made a lot of mess. So, so you do want to revise and look over your visions again. So, when we do a relationship vision, we are doing it individually, and then we're bringing it together to create that shared vision based off the 2. Okay. And so we would be negotiating how that looks and bringing them together for that shared vision. And then that becomes the roadmap kind of the relationship.
Yep.
And obviously if you're doing that just on your own, then that's a roadmap of what you're working towards. So if we can get really, really clear about what it is that we want, but actually more importantly is around the feelings we want around that. And the reason for that is sometimes people can go, if I jump straight into mind, body and soul, so that would be, the feelings around that would be, I want to feel good in my own skin. I want to feel energized. I want to have a good sleep routine. I want to have a good morning routine. I want to nourish my body. These can be some goals, around, oops, sorry, Andy.
Buddy.
I might have squeezed him too hard. They could be some goals around there, but we want it to be that feeling state, even if it's to get back into my black jeans or to fit back into that outfit. But we don't want it to be, I'm going to lose 5 kilos, because so many times people have done that in front of me and said, I've lost the 5 kilos, but I still feel crap.
Yeah.
And it will be from lots of different reasons. It could be because their self-talk is still terrible at that point. They're still telling themselves they look terrible in those jeans, or they look fat or whatever. So you go for the feeling state rather than it being, kind of that arbitrary number on a scale.
Yes.
You know.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So mind, body and soul could be, things around physical wellness. It could be about things that you would like to bring in. If you wanted to try breath work, if you wanted to try meditations, if you wanted to get more active, if you wanted to, work on your sleep, bring back your spiritual practices or any sort of faith-based practices that you might have done in the past or would like to cultivate now.
Yeah.
So anything that's kind of around your wellness, mind, body and soul would be in that.
For me right now, because I've injured this shoulder last year and then this shoulder this year, and it stopped me from going to the gym. And one of my goals is, which I probably would put under this one because it's around body, is I would like to focus on like functional movement, which is what I'm doing now. I'm doing my Wednesday morning class with a bunch of old people. I'm like 20 years younger than everyone else in that class, but I'm fine with that because my ultimate goal is to be able to move my body well. And then once I can do that, I can go back to the gym and start lifting weights again. And and I'm already, even without doing the weights, just doing the functional movement, my shoulder's feeling better. And like I feel better in my body. Yeah.
And because you had that goal, you then went about, doing the practices or booking the class.
Yep.
To go and do that. Whereas if that hadn't been on your radar, you wouldn't have changed your behaviour to add that in. Yep. So mind, body and soul is just anything aligned with, those kind of areas. No right or wrong, but make sure that there's good feelings around what you're intending.
Okay. Should we go to number 2? Career.
So this could be the career that you already have. It could be tweaks and changes you'd like to make, in the current, kind of role that you have, or Maybe it's moving organisations, but you want to work closer to home. You want more flexible hours. You could want to work for someone that you really admire, or there's a mentor, kind of element to it. So just have a think about the qualities of the workplace that you would like, even if it is in the same kind of industry or role. If it's something completely different, then it could be going, right, I would like to retrain, or I'd like to do my own business. And you just dream what the qualities would be around that. For some people, they might not actually know what they want to do. So then I would suggest, well, what is it that you enjoy? Do you want to work indoors or outdoors? Do you want to, work as part of a team, or do you want to work independently? So maybe just try and pull some qualities from, what you know about yourself or what you've liked from previous roles.
Should you go for small things or big things? So I'll give you an example, like career-wise, filmmaker, a massive thing would be to have a feature film on Netflix, which is quite a big one that might take me a very long time to get there. There's kind of smaller goals I could probably slot in between those. Like, I know you've said there's no right or wrong, but is it more helpful to have the smaller ones so that you can feel like you're making progress?
Well, for using your example, again, coming back to the fact that we're going to revise it every year, that would just maybe be your goals for the year around the filmmaking. So you could have like an overarching, like knowing that I would love to get to the point where that's what success feels like to me, would be hitting that Netflix kind of level.
Yep.
But even just going, my goal for this year is making that documentary or that life film or that whatever,
yep.
and focusing on that, but knowing that that's growing the skills that's working you towards that ultimate goal
yep.
that you kind of have.
Okay.
Because it could even be, like, if you think about if someone had a career change where they went, okay, I want to be a doctor, that might take a long time to get to there. But as long as you're knowing that that's where you're heading and that's the feelings that you want to get to that point, but it would be in that breaking down the baby steps that we're hitting a lot of, those tasks that you would need to do to get to that point of being, the doctor. So for you, it could be the same thing. You might not hit the Netflix film, here, but you've done that documentary. Now you've got more confidence and more skills to get to the next, to the next, to the next.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of thing. So my tips around career would be, what are the tweaks you want to change for your current career that would make that feel even nicer? And sometimes, again, it's not about money. It could be asking for more time. It could be asking for more flexibility. Sometimes when people are so busy, the thought of more money or a new title or something might not be that appealing. But if they had 6 weeks holiday a year, or if they had an early finish on a Friday, maybe those are the things that they would really want to have be different in their life.
Giving me flashbacks. You used to hammer me about this one, remember?
Yes.
You'd always say, this is when I did not work for myself, I was working for someone else. You were always saying, negotiate more time off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I always want holidays and you never had any leave because...
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember.
Yeah, time is important to me. So I think that's...
Yeah. And it's finally clicked for me. It's taken a while.
Yeah. So again, no right or wrong, but just whatever it is that would add to your work day to make it feel nicer or more balanced. Maybe there's some things to think about.
Okay, that sounds good. Number 3 is relationships.
So this one, think about yourself. Don't necessarily think about your partner, because if you do think about your partner, you might think, oh, Scott doesn't do that, or Scott wouldn't normally do it. You're sort of almost censoring yourself straight away. But think about what would be all of the qualities that I would love to have in my relationship for me to feel truly content and happy. So we might go, oh, I have fun with my partner. There's good trust. There's good intimacy. We have things in common. I feel like he's got my back. So all of the qualities that you might really like. And so while those might be some things we already have in our relationship, and I'd still state them even if they were in our relationship, there might be some things in there that we don't have, but now I know that I want to work towards that. I want to make sure that we're putting that in our relationship if that's lacking or if it's never been there.
Yep. Okay. So does that still apply, like relationships? What if you're single?
So that would be where you're thinking about, well, what would I like to have in a relationship if I was willing to settle down or to, start being with somebody or dating somebody. And that could be what they use in their dating. They could get really clear with their wishes of those qualities. And then as they're starting to date that person, they could actually put them into some of the questions depending on what it is that they're looking for. They could just organically kind of find that information out, or they could be more purposeful to make sure that, say, for example, on their list was that they have a good relationship with their family. Maybe that's important to that person. So through the conversation, they would ask about their family and their relationship. And the person's not going to feel interrogated. That's just still going to feel very conversational. But for them, they're kind of seeing if that's going to tick off their box
Yeah.
for their relationship.
And I guess speaking of family, falling under relationships doesn't just have to be a romantic relationship. Can it be a relationship with your parents or your siblings or...
No, that's just...
Where does that fit?
Family.
Oh, there's family.
Do you want to cut that out?
Maybe I'll cut it. Maybe I'll leave it. Okay, so that is specifically relationship. Okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Number 4 is lifestyle.
So this is just basically the fun stuff. So anything that you like to do away from work. And the more that you get clear on this, then this will give you ideas about how to add more variety and balance in your life. I actually was doing this vision with a couple of my friends. So first of all, I'd given them the sheets that I usually use for my retreats and gave them some instructions. But after a few weeks, one of my friends said, "Oh, can you just do it with me? Can you just help me?" And I said, "That's fine," because it's easier sometimes if someone can give you lots of examples and pull it out of you. So anyway, 2 of my friends wanted to do it. So we went to a cafe and we were having breakfast and we were doing their visions. And when we got to lifestyle, both of them put girls' trips on their visions. So being the holiday queen that I am, my eyes lit up. Yep. And
so you had no input, given your love of holiday in general?
I might have put that as an example that they latched onto, but it was their vision. Okay. So by the end of that breakfast, we'd actually booked or kind of had an idea of what we were going to book for a girls' trip, just off the back of us talking about it. And that's what it does. It puts things in your awareness that then you're much more likely then to action. Because you're realizing how much you want that. But if we're just kind of going about our day, we're not being intentional about those things that would add more balance or joy.
So as we're talking about this, it's becoming clear to me, one of the big reasons to do this is because it can be potentially very easy to get into Groundhog Day and just keep going and going and going. And all of a sudden, it's not just days and weeks that have passed, it's years.
Yes. And you know what, with the things like lifestyle, they're the things that not only bring us balance, but they're kind of our memories as well. Like if you think about what you just said of the Groundhog Day, that means we're going about our day and it's the same in, day out. And we might remember that as being, I always used to do netball on this day or sport on this day, and you'll remember those things, but you won't remember the detail of it. But the lifestyle is where you're going to go, oh my gosh, do you remember that party we went to or that holiday we had or that camping trip that we did? You're going to remember those things. They're going to jump out of that Groundhog Day and be the things that get your attention. So if we're not making sure we've got these in our lives, how are we remembering the years? People will look back on 5 years and go, well, there's nothing there that stood out.
We should take a little detour here because I think this is an important one and it's something that I've learned from you. And I'll give an example from a group chat that we had about a week ago where it was someone's birthday. And
not just their birthday, it was their 40th. So to me, that's pretty special.
Yes, true. I always used to let my birthdays pass and I wasn't that fussed on having any fanfare. It was just another day. And you would always hammer me about that. And I didn't grasp it at first, but now I understand or do you want to explain why you make a big deal about your birthday or obviously the kids are always going to make a big deal, but about my birthday, for example, why do you think it's important to make a big deal about that?
Well, going back to your point about Groundhog Day, it's just an opportunity to do something different that breaks up your week, that breaks up your year, that breaks up your month. You know, it's having something to look forward to that feels nice. You can put lots of things on that day that gives you nice feelings or a nice balance for the week. And some people, I think, mistake birthdays for I need a lot of attention or how would they? My brother would think that I'm quite precious about my birthdays. And it's not that I need anyone to do anything for me necessarily, but it's more about me going, I'm going to make that nice for myself. I'm going to make sure that on that day, something about that feels different than the day before and the day after. And if we don't do that, then same what you're saying about the kids, we would make that effort for them to feel special and to feel lovely and give them something different to look forward to. But why would we not do that for ourselves?
Yeah. And I guess the same can be said for holidays. So because of you, we go on a couple of holidays minimum a year. Minimum. But I bet you there's people watching and listening who maybe haven't had a holiday in 2 years.
Tommy was just telling me that one of his friends, because Tommy always comes back and tells his friends about all the different things he's done. The cruise was obviously one that was pretty exciting for him to share. And his friend said that he hadn't been on a holiday for 5 years.
Jeez.
Yeah. But I think because Tommy was probably talking so much about holidays, and then that friend has gone home to his parents, and I saw on Facebook that she was asking about different hotels in Bali. They're finally going to go on a holiday.
Oh, good.
So Tommy's influenced.
But it's the same thing, right? Like, as we're getting older and wiser, we're realizing that it's time.
Yeah.
That you can't get that back, no matter how much money you have. Mm-hmm. And holidays are a great way to
slow it down.
Yeah, slow down and create. You're right, Lenny, and create those memories.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's when you get to the end.
Yep.
That's what you're going to have.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember what it was. It was either a movie or I was listening to something, but there's a real rich guy, and I think he realized as he was on his deathbed, you can't hug your money. Mm-mm. You can't hug the $200,000 car on the driveway.
Yeah.
Or the mansion that you happen to be lying in your deathbed in.
Yep.
It's about thinking about the memories and the people.
Yeah, and your experiences that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the connections that you made, all of those things.
Yeah.
So, I think by doing a vision, you can actually then look at where do I want to allocate my time, energy, and resources. So even with lifestyle, if you were a holiday queen like what I am, that means also that then I can balance out some of where we spend our money on the other activities. So because I like holidaying, maybe then some of our outings aren't as expensive.
Yep.
But it's just what you value.
Yes. I'm not a car person. I've just recently bought my very first new car. Never had a new car in my whole entire life because it wasn't important to me.
It's not what you value. Yeah. And so this is another way of you getting clear about the things that are important to you. So that's where you put your energy and your resources. If it's not important to you, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just with lifestyle, that's things like dinners out, comedy shows, holidays, camping, fishing trips, what else? Escape rooms nowadays.
Yeah.
Yep. And the more that you can write big lists. Darts, yes. We did electronic darts recently, and that was super fun. And the more that you write them down, so you could have a massive big list for this about all the different things you want to add into, your life and add more variety. And then that's on your radar now.
Yes.
And then whenever you're feeling like, what should we do this weekend? You could glance at that and go, oh gosh, we haven't done the things on our list.
Yep. Beautiful. Okay. Number 5 is social life. So how does that differ from lifestyle?
Well, this is about the people that you spend time with.
Okay.
So for us, we used to be very, very social, especially when the kids were very little. I was very active with my mother's group, which is, well, I'm still active with them, but definitely not as much as when the kids were little. But we also had lots of friends we would do, loads of things with. But one thing I started noticing as the kids were going through school is I wasn't making any school mum friends.
Ah, yes, I remember this.
Yeah, so I remember because of one of my mother's group friends being part of my school, I would just stand at the class and chat to her the whole time. So while I'd say hi to the other mums and be friendly with them, I certainly didn't cultivate relationships enough that we're going to go get coffee or do play dates. So one day we were doing a vision and I thought, right, I've got lots of friends, but not in that area. So I wanted to have a goal around making more school mum friends. So once that was on my radar, now I changed my behaviour to match that goal that I had. So I still could have chatted to my friend like she was in the classroom next door by the time I had this goal. But instead, I would leave her at her classroom and I'd go and stand in front of my daughter's classroom. And then I'd just make small talk. Then I would just, comment on the babies or comment on cute outfits or whatever, but just anything to make a little bit of chit chat so that I was connecting with people. And I remember actually going to one of the birthday parties and so that there was a few mums sitting around and because some of my friends' schools, they're so social or they have a class representative that gets together and organises things, but our school never did anything like that. So I thought, I'll just try what they've done. And I just sort of threw out a comment and said, one day we should organise something for us mums or we should go and do something. And it was like crickets. No no one said anything. But I remember telling you when I came home and you were like, oh my God, I would have been so embarrassed, or that would have really, freaked me out or whatever. And I said, but it wasn't like I turned to someone and said, hey, you're free Saturday? Like it wasn't as intense as that. It was just so throwing it out there and seeing what lands. And in that moment, it didn't land, but that was okay because it was such a teeny tiny step that it didn't really matter if it didn't land. But yeah, not long after that, I started making more connections, and two of my closest friends now came from that intent.
Shout out to Reese and Gemma. I know you're watching.
And Hannah.
Of course, and Hannah.
Yeah.
I remember the phrase that pops into, because I remember this period of our life. Mm. The phrase that pops into my mind is you had a bee in your bonnet. Like you were so intentional about making school mum friends, and then obviously that's expanded into their partners as well, who now we're really close with. But you were so intentional and so determined to make that happen. And again, that's credit to you. That there's no way I could have done that. Mm. The thought of it would freak me out. Mm-hmm. But you had it as a goal and you achieved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other type of examples? We've obviously been quite specific there. What else might you put under social life?
Some people might say to me, oh, I don't care about friends. I'm happy on my own. And sometimes I'll bring them back to a time in their life where they maybe had a really, really good friend. And I'll say, what were the qualities that person had? And they'll tell me. So I'll say, if you had people in your life that had those qualities, would you want those to be your friends? And they usually say yes. So sometimes it could be going, okay, let me see what the qualities that would be appealing to me in a friend that would make me want to have more of those people in my life. So that way, maybe people are more aware of looking for those qualities within people rather than just going, oh, I'm fine on my own. Oh. So it could be, for this particular one, it could be looking at qualities of what you would like in new friendships or what would be important for you in a new friendship. Or it could just be you would like more school mum friends. You would like more friends you could go out with in a group, or couple friends. Lots of people that I see, they might not have couple friends that they could go out with. Like the guy goes out with his guy friends and the wife goes out with the female friends, but they might not have those couple friends that they both enjoy. So that could be something on their radar that they could work towards.
And you probably say right now on our radar is like spirituality friends.
Yeah, that's another good point. You might have friends in different life stages. So I know that when some of my clients have children before their friendship groups, they can feel a little bit misunderstood, and people are booking dinners late when they don't want to be out that late, or they're sleep deprived or whatever. So sometimes it's nice to have those friendships where people just get it.
Yeah.
Or if I've had clients where they're trying to stay away from drinking and wanting to get more of a healthy lifestyle, and some of their catch-ups are always around barbecues and pubs and things like that where there's loads of drinking, they might want more of those friends that are going to want to go for a hike or, do something a bit more active.
Yeah. So would then like joining a sports club or something, would that fit? So let's say for guys, because I think guys in general, once you reach a certain age, it's kind of hard to make new friends. Mm-hmm. If I said, okay, I'm going to play soccer this season, I'd put that under this little section and go, right, I'm going to play soccer and I'm going to look to develop some new guy friends.
I wouldn't even put where you're going to have that happen. I think you just put the goal as, I would really like some more guy friends. Maybe these are the qualities that I would want in there. So maybe you want them to be reciprocal with the efforts. Sometimes we can feel like friendships are one-sided. So you could put some qualities in there that would be important for you to want to have that friendship, but you don't need to see where am I going to find them. Oh, okay. That would be in the baby steps. If you wanted to join a soccer team, maybe we put that in mind, body and soul, because that's in your personal development or things you want to do for yourself. But I would just put, these are the friendships you want, and then when we're looking at the baby steps, we could work towards that. Then you could look at where you're going to find them, or how you might meet them.
Perfect. Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Number 6 is family.
So this can be done a few ways. So if people haven't got children and would like children, that's a place to put, some of those goals around that. Like I want 3 kids, or I want 2 kids, or I want whatever that might look like. You could put timings around that and get clear around the timings. If you, like us, have children, it could be about what relationships you want with the children. Like what would you like that to feel like? Or maybe any goals around one-on-one time with them, or more intentional time with them. That could be where you put that. Or it could be looking at extended family. I know that we always put this on our list every year, and we we don't succeed. It's cousin time. We always put that we want to put the cousins together more often, but because they live...
Our children's cousins.
Yeah. They live 50 minutes away. That's sometimes tricky to organise, so it doesn't happen as regularly as what would be lovely for all of us.
Yeah.
It could be your relationship with your parents or your in-laws, and having that be a bit different than what it currently is. But again, it's about it being on your radar, because when it's on your radar and you're being intentional around those wishes, then you're making sure that you're having that happen, throughout your week or throughout your month. You're putting those things in place if it's on your radar.
And then for number 7, we've got, is it house?
Yes.
Okay.
So house could be the house that you currently live in. So if we were looking at our house, we've just recently done the front yard. Still some things to finish off.
Well, we say we. Is that what we say? Who did the front yard?
Scott did the front.
Yeah.
Scott organised the front.
Scott worked his ass off for about 8 weeks.
You did great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Scott recently did things to our front yard. So it could be things that you do to the current house you're in. So whether that's renovations, decorating, new furniture, any sort of tweaks and changes you might have on your current house, or it could be the dream house down the track. It could be looking at what suburb would be like, what would the house have, what area would we like to live in. So that could be the dream house down the track, or it could just be the things that currently you want to look at in your house.
So with that, is it like with the intention of something? So I guess one of our intentions with doing our front yard was because we live across the road from the park and we like having a little fire pit, and we wanted to create a space where we could enjoy the park and light fires during the winter and have family time.
Well, that could definitely be a goal for someone, and it was for us. It's a good point. I've had a couple of clients recently tell me that one of them set up a little space in their front yard. Same thing. They wanted to have a place to go have coffee, and they've got 5 children, so they absolutely needed a place to get away from the children. So he created a little space at the front, and he tells me that they use that all the time. So that was a nice goal that he made for himself, and was able to create a space out of nothing, pretty much. Sometimes it can be finding a useless space in the house and turning it into something that would be more intentional and more purposeful. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be that it costs very much money. It's just repurposing a space. I think for us, during COVID, it really taught us the different areas in our house, that we really liked and we hadn't ever really used.
Yeah.
Just even moving chairs to a different spot, suddenly changes the feel of it and the energy around it. So it could be goals around creating new spaces in your house, or making them feel, a bit more cozy or usable. Or it could be that complete change altogether with a new house.
Yeah.
But by having them listed down, then also we're keeping them on our radar. We're also prioritising where we're starting. If we're doing this with a partner, we're also making sure that we're clear on, where are we putting our time, energy and resources, because one might be wanting the backyard pool and someone else is wanting new furniture. So you're going to have to negotiate where the money goes or what the priority is. So you can get really intentional if you're starting to put down all the things that you would like your house to look like.
Yeah. What happens if you don't have a house? Or you're renting, I mean.
If you're renting, that could be the same thing. Like, is there decorations I want to do, around the house? Or if you're living in a shared house, or if you're, young and you just have your room, it could be going, what would make my room feel nicer? So it doesn't matter how big your space is. Is there something you could do to make that nicer? You look at our daughter. She is constantly tweaking her room, begging us for vanity mirrors and new bedside tables and whatever it is. That's on her radar.
She has created a lovely space. I watched a movie with her in there a couple of weeks ago. It's like a hotel room. Yeah,
versus her brother, who has some of the same things but doesn't keep a nice space and doesn't have anything on his radar to...
He has a more...
cave-like.
I was thinking of a 22-year-old single guy sharing a flat with about 3 other blokes.
Yeah.
It's that sort of a vibe that he's created.
The dark room.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so she has those things on her radar as goals. I think she even has Pinterest. I think she even...
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, so that's her getting really clear with her space.
Yeah.
And yet she's just a kid.
Yeah. And you can tell, like, she's quite content in that space.
Yes, and she works towards it. Like, she wanted a white doona cover for years, but she's the middle child I mentioned earlier that made lots of mess. So she's previously had slime in her bed and stained sheets and doona covers. So I was very reluctant. But she stayed with that goal for 2 full years.
Yep.
And eventually we let her get a white doona cover for her birthday, and she's kept it pristine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Good example.
Yeah.
Wow. We're at number 8 already. Money, finances.
So again, no right or wrong. It could be having goals around savings. It could be, if you look at those ads on TV that we have here in Australia where you've got a bank account and they set up buckets where they're like, this is for my holidays, this is for my bills. You could be setting something up that makes your money system work better for you. It could be having goals around reviewing your insurances or anything that you're paying out that you might be able to compare the prices and see, is there a better option out there. If you're in a relationship, it could be having agreements around spending of money. So it could be going, okay, how much can I spend without kind of checking in? What's my amount and what's my freedom around that? It could be goals around, I want some individual money and I want some shared money, or it could be, I want no shared money or I want only shared money. Like, it's no right or wrong. It's just whatever you feel, would work for you. Yep. And then when we're doing that with a partner, we're then obviously having to negotiate that to make sure both of us are happy with where that lands.
Yep.
It could be, for example, with a relationship one, it could be going, I want to be more involved in the finances and know where our money is going and the budgeting, or I'm overloaded by that, I want to be less involved in that. So again, no right or wrong, but just whatever you think would make your life easier around money.
I'm trying to think of some examples from our own life. Like, I guess on my list would have been, paying off the mortgage.
Mm-hmm. Actually, this is you've given me a good idea. I had a client years ago. I never saw the husband, but I saw the wife, and she told me how when she very first met her husband, he asked her about her goals, and she didn't actually really have any. So she said, what are yours? And he said, I want to get out of debt. I want to be mortgage free. That's all he meant. He didn't have credit cards. He didn't have anything that was hanging over him, but it was around the mortgage. So for anybody, that seems like a good goal to have. That seems sensible. That seems like, yep, why wouldn't I want to do that? So this lady was telling me how this is back in the days of DVDs and, not all the streaming services we have now. And they had a very old school arrangement where the husband went out to work and the wife stayed at home. That was their arrangement. So because he wanted to pay off the mortgage, he worked a lot. He would work from 7 a.m. till sort of 6 p.m. She was responsible for their 3 kids. She would take them to everything. But because he was wanting to save so much money, they never got takeaways.
Right.
So she never got a break. She's cooking every single meal because they don't get takeaways because that money is
like your idea of hell.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then all the money's going towards that. If they got invited to things, sometimes they wouldn't go because there would be money that was being spent. Yeah. The wife told me that she ended up getting postnatal depression, but he wouldn't take any time off work because he didn't want to miss the income. So now she wasn't feeling supported. Yeah. So it really impacted their life. And even when physically it impacted their life by not having the stops and the breaks and the balance in their life because they were just chasing money, it really impacted the relationship and resentment grew. But unfortunately, they didn't stop and revise their vision to see what was working and what wasn't. So if they had been able to just make small, changes to go, okay, we still want to prioritise paying off the mortgage, but does it have to be as fast as what we're doing it? Can we slow that down even by a year and give ourselves some more freedom around some of those balances that would make life a bit more enjoyable?
It's coming back to the money versus time thing.
Yeah.
And I won't name names, but I know 2 people in our life who've both paid off their mortgage and both said once it was paid off, didn't really feel that different. Like it, I guess everyone imagines you're going to have this amazing weight off your shoulders and it's going to be fantastic and life is going to be totally different. And they both realized, no, it's not that different.
Yeah. And do you know what? That actually helped me when one of them said, what will you do differently now that you've paid off the mortgage? I don't know what I was expecting to hear, but they said, well, we like going out for breakfast, so we might do that one more time a month.
Yeah.
And I said, what? So you go once a month now and you're going to go once a fortnight? And they said, and it made me feel like we're living like we already paid off the mortgage because I feel like we've got more balance than that already.
Yeah. And that's not to criticise
No,
anyone.
that's just what people value.
Everyone
That's just,
has their own goals. Like
Yeah.
we're not making judgment on...
that was just exciting for them that they were going to do that. But I think for us, we think that, I don't know, there's going to be confetti cannons and this big celebration, like life is going to change so much when they've paid off the mortgage. But
Yeah.
if your mindset's still the same,
Yeah. Then
nothing's going to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where the vision comes in, where you might go, oh, that would mean with that extra money, I could now do this.
Yeah.
Or I could work 4 days and have that extra time now because I value time now that the mortgage is paid off. But yeah, if people are just living the same way, well, then maybe they're continuing what they already value, or they're not stopping and looking at what they value, and maybe they'd make changes if they did.
Yep. Great. Okay. Any final points on finances?
No.
That was easy.
It was. I was thinking it through and I thought, no, I think we've covered.
Yeah, I think we did a decent job.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Lenny's done.
Lenny's finally had enough.
Episode's finished anyway, Lenny. Okay. Well, I think you did a great job. Well done. Very well explained.
Thank you.
So if anyone wants to download, we'll put on the website, which is traceyquayle.com. We'll put a little worksheet where we have each of the 8 sections, and you can print that out and you can write in each box for each section and do the exercise at your leisure. If you do want to follow Tracey on social media, you can find her. It's at traceyquayle.therapy. So that is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you happen to be on LinkedIn and you want to find Tracey, it's just Tracey Quayle. If you want to join our mailing list, which we send once a fortnight, we've been getting excellent feedback on that. With lots of tips. It's, expands on some of the stuff we talk about here, plus a bunch of other things. Just jump on traceyquayle.com and join the mailing list. With that said, I think that's the end.
I think so.
Very good job. Well done.
Thanks. We'll see you next time.
See you later.